Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for November 18th through 24th, 2024. So, yeah, let's just do a quick check in. How are we doing? I know we had some very interesting astrology over the past week. We had that Taurus full moon on November 15th. This full moon was conjunct Uranus. So even though the full moon was highlighting themes around Taurus, stability, security, pleasure, food, the physical world, because all the things that Taurus govern, but Uranus is an evolutionary planet, and it talks about this need to grow and evolve, and sometimes to make a break from the past, but also to awaken to new ideas and new perspectives. Same time, we had Saturn turning direct. So Saturn is now direct, very different planet than Uranus. If Uranus is evolutionary, it's not even a word in English, is if Uranus is about, let's say, evolving, then Saturn is about structure, it's about building, it's about containers, it's about boundaries, personal milestones, and the things that really set us up for the future. And then we had Venus squaring the nodes this weekend. So perhaps with all these things together, we have been either at a crossroads or a time of deep inner reflection, or the things that are coming up actually touch on much deeper topics and subjects. And all of this leads us into this week where we have Pluto returning to Aquarius. So that's really the big headline of this week. But I wanted to just do a quick check-in because I feel like I've heard from a couple of clients of mine a lot of big things happening, at least in their lives. So what's going on in your life? It was my birthday yesterday, and it doesn't feel like November because it's just been so warm here in the northeast of the United States. But yeah, so I'm sort of getting back into the swing of things after a birthday celebration weekend. So for those that don't know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium, presently located in the rolling hills of Maryland. I was up in New York this weekend, where I was for 20 years. And every week we gather live to look at the astrology, and you hear me say every week the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. It's just to be a participant. Astrology, it is energy. It is time. It is the energy of time and how we live time, and how time has a specificity. And we could say certainly this past week, with a lot of intersecting cycles, perhaps there's a specificity to the things that are going on right now and the things that you are experiencing. It's hard to tease out all the little bits because we also have Pluto going into Aquarius, which means that today has been the last full day of Pluto in Capricorn. And so Pluto in Capricorn, it's kind of 16 years is a long period of time to really sort of take one thing out of it. But at least there has been one area of your life, the Capricorn area. You're like, but I'm not a Capricorn. There is some area of your life that is governed by Capricorn. It could be career. This is all based on your sun sign or your rising sign. It could be career. It could be relationship. And that area of your life has needed to profoundly transform. Pluto, it's like Uranus, and I was saying in the introduction about, checking in after the full moon in Taurus with Uranus. Pluto and Uranus, these are evolutionary planets. Their job is to get us to grow and evolve, in this case by very different means. Pluto talks about this need to work on our inner landscapes. It is a deeply psychological and even spiritual planet. It talks about soul growth and evolution, and this need to put light where perhaps there wasn't light before. So the person that you were at the start of 2008, even if you're like, but I had more money, or I had more this, or I had more that, this is not necessarily about your external world and sort of the biographical details. This has been about your growth and evolution over the last 16 years through the prism of Capricorn and also where Capricorn is in your astrology. All you have to do is go back and listen to last week's recording or go to the show notes. I do have an article that I wrote way back in 2017 called Pluto in Capricorn, sign by sign, if you just sort of need a quick recap. I'm sure at this point many of you, maybe you know what area of your life that Pluto is wrapping up in. And so I was thinking about like who was I? Who back in 2008? God, that was 16 years ago. A very different version of me, but the events of that time led me to be able to sit here in front of you every Monday evening, because there was a time of really trying to find my voice, discover who I was. I was still in New York. I was sort of 4 years into that time in New York, and it was at the same time as my Saturn return. That's a whole other conversation for another time. And really to be able to sit here and to speak and to talk about astrology, I haven't even imagined that at the start of 2008. So here we are every week. So in your own time, I would really use the next 24 hours, maybe even less than, because Pluto goes into Aquarius at 3:29 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, November 19th. Reflect back on the work, the inner revelation, the breaking down of things, the revealing of things, because it's a time that cannot be relived. Pluto will not return to Capricorn for another 250 years approximately. That I'm pretty sure, and saying that you and I were not going to be around at that time. So here we are. We are at the sort of the crossroads of two different eras, personal, collective, and Pluto going into Aquarius tomorrow will talk about the start of another period of your life that is needing to do work. We could go back from 1995 to 2008. That's when Pluto was in Sagittarius, or 1983, 84 to 1995. That's when Pluto was in Scorpio. I think it was 72, 73 to 83, 84. Pluto was in Libra. I don't know the dates of Pluto and Virgo, but these are periods where if you've lived long enough, Pluto's worked its way through each of these signs. So Pluto, again, it's an evolutionary planet. We don't always see it right away. Sometimes we can sort of see the world shifting around us and sort of certain different feelings, for example, about the things that are happening. But it's to sort of check in with yourself. What are you sensing in your own life? What needs to grow and evolve? Where are you receiving that feedback? And Pluto is a very powerful planet, even though it's not, astronomically speaking, a planet, but it does its work. We can go back to Pluto in Capricorn. Whatever area in your life, it was like in January of 2008, Pluto went into Capricorn and said, oh, hey, it's me, it's Pluto. I'm here to rip everything out. And so if you are a Capricorn, if you are a Libra, if you are an Aries, if you are a Cancer, you have felt this time over the last 16 years, something very specific has been happening. Aquarius is an fixed sign. We are in, the sun is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed sign. So we are in a season where we are talking about the things that really anchor us and hold us down. Scorpio is power, it's money, it's finance, it's the material world. Yes, it's also this transitory sign that brings us to the end of a season, a growing season. But along with Taurus, these are two very powerful signs about matter and the material world. These four signs, again, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, they are the cross of matter. They talk about our physical and manifested reality. And so Pluto is saying that something is beginning to shift about our physical world, both personal and collective. What will Pluto and Aquarius be over the next 20 years? Yes, 20 years. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, because that's the thing, that when Pluto was in Aquarius last, the 1780s and 90s, yes, you heard me correctly, the world was a very different place. The consciousness of the time was a very different place. The ages of Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto and Aquarius, and I'm highlighting these two signs because they are ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is a sign that's about our physical world and time and structure and systems and power and government. And so we had Pluto go through Capricorn and Aquarius in the 15, 17, I can't remember the exact date, all the way to the 1550s. And then before that, it's the 1300s, which I can't remember the dates. So these are, or the 1700s, that was the last time, the 1760s, 70s, 80s, and beginning of the 90s. These are typically big shift periods. So we're in the middle of something. It's not new information. But on a personal level, because Pluto deals with a much larger cycle of time, we have to sort of see how it expresses in our own lives. So Pluto wants to reveal something. It's a planet of consciousness. Uranus is also a planet of consciousness, but it does it in a different way. It wants to sort of shake us awake. We sort of have these breakthroughs, these sudden realizations, but Pluto sort of is methodical. It works through something. It typically holds a mirror to us. What I've noticed about Pluto, it can be both ways. Let's say you are a very creative person, but you don't inhabit it, you don't own it, you don't recognize it, and you attract all these creative people into your life. They are reflecting something about you that you can't recognize about yourself. This is a positive example. And so Pluto is saying, recognize yourself, be in your creativity, be in your talents. Maybe it's the other side of the coin. Maybe there's all this repressed anger, and you're like, why do I keep attracting angry people into my life? Because Pluto is saying, look, you have all this anger. So that's how Pluto works. It's trying to reveal something so we can transmute it, so that it's no longer something that really holds us. And so maybe go back to 2008 and over the past few years and think about the things that held you, not in a positive way, versus how they hold you now. It could be fears, it could be insecurities, and that this is where I say that Pluto really does its work in that inner landscape, in that psychic landscape that we all have within. It's funny, I keep, clear my voice, because as a Scorpio, Pluto's time in Capricorn has been about voice, finding voice, not just the ability to open our mouths and to speak, but also to inhabit our voice, to inhabit the power of our voice. So I guess, as we get to the end of Pluto's time in Capricorn, here we are, we're at the last bit. So yes, Pluto, it's when we go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, we'll talk more, of course, very briefly about what this means for each of the signs. I'm going to go back to a couple of points because this keeps coming up either in comments or people message me. Number one, just because Pluto is going into Aquarius doesn't mean that we are going into the age of Aquarius. What does the age of Aquarius mean? The age of Aquarius means that the spring equinox aligns with, the sun rises in alignment with the constellation of Aquarius. That is something that hasn't happened. It perhaps has already happened. Maybe we went into the age of Aquarius over the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. There's a lot of debate. There's no precise, date that says that we're in the age of Aquarius, but it takes 26,000 years, yes, you heard me correctly, 26,000 years for the Earth, if I'm doing my astronomy correctly, to rotate around the galaxy. And so we mark that rotation by the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere aligning with the 12 zodiac signs. So we had the age of Pisces, roughly an age is about 2,200 years, from about the beginning of 2,000 years ago to about roughly now. Before Pisces, it was the age of, Aries. Before Aries is the age of Taurus. There's a whole other topic. So Aquarius, this Pluto and Aquarius, two different things. So I wanted to say that. Also, another random comment, but is somewhat related. There are two different zodiacs. It's a much bigger conversation. So this Western astrology, the astrology that I use, uses a fixed system. It's called tropical astrology. The fixed system has the sun going into Aries at the start of the spring equinox. That hasn't been actual, like real, like visibly real since the beginning. Oh gosh, like how long ago? Since the age of Aries. So like 4,000 years ago. Sidereal astrology, the other zodiac, marks the shift of the equinox, precession of the equinox, if I'm saying that correctly. So sometimes people say, oh, Pluto, this hasn't gone into this yet. Well, in tropical astrology, Pluto goes into Aquarius tomorrow. In sidereal astrology, Pluto is still in Capricorn and went into Capricorn in 2020. One is not wrong. It's just a different way of looking at this, guys. Like I said, other conversation for another time. So Pluto going into Aquarius is just a shift of time, but it's a shift of time that marks a karmic passage, a shift of time that marks a karmic work, a personal work, an evolutionary work. So there you go. Pluto in Aquarius is the big one. We also have the sun going into Sagittarius this week. It almost feels a little bit overshadowed by Pluto's arrival in Capricorn. Pluto's arrival in Aquarius on November 19th. But on November 21st, the sun leaves Scorpio and it goes into Sagittarius. So I love the interplay between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And I'm not just saying this because it was my birthday yesterday and because there is a lot of Sag and Scorpio in my chart. But Scorpio is kind of like Pluto, but a little bit different, this deep inner work. We've all had 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks of the sun in Scorpio. Each year, the sun goes through Scorpio at this time, and it marks a transition point. It brings up a lot of emotions. We have Halloween. We sort of get into this sort of cultural energy of marking life and death, for example. But by and large, Scorpio, because it's a water sign, marks the passages. This need to go within so that we can transition into a new phase of our life. And so with the sun going to Sagittarius, Sagittarius is known as the sign of wisdom and knowledge. How do we get wisdom and knowledge? We have to go through Scorpio. Every sign in the zodiac is a step into the next one. We cannot have Sagittarius without Scorpio. We can't have Capricorn without Sagittarius, for example. So the sun's arrival in Sagittarius is a fire sign. We're going to talk more about this next week, but fire is the first element in astrology, and the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And fire, when we reach Sagittarius, we've reached the last fire sign. The last 4 signs of the zodiac, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, they represent the elements in a broader sense, in a more of a collective sense. When we step into Sagittarius, we're no longer at a level of the personal. We're now at the level of the external world, the collective. We go into Sagittarius, and now it's like, what do I believe in? What do I stand for? There's a sense of education and educational institutions, higher education. There's also Sagittarius as a sign whose role, and it is ruled by Jupiter, it's again a fire sign, its role is to make our world bigger. Imagine if you stayed every moment of your life keeping your life very small, very safe. Nothing changes, nothing happens, you don't try anything, you have no curiosity. Do you grow? Absolutely not. So the role of Scorpio is to create that necessary agitation internally through sometimes external events as well, so that we can grow. And so when we go into Sagittarius, it is to look up, to look out. Like, after everything that I've been through, what do I still stand for? What is truth for me? What is faith for me? And Sagittarius is not the fire of Aries, which is the spark of life. It's not the fire of Leo, which is the sun, the spark of the sun, the light of the sun. It's the light of the stars in Sagittarius. It's the archer, and we're sort of sending our arrows very, very far with Sagittarius. And so it's a different, not just a different season, not just a different sign, not just a different element, but it will be a season that pulls upon Jupiter in Gemini, because Jupiter has been in Gemini since the end of May of this year. And Jupiter in Gemini says that there will be this big focus on Sag and Gemini into almost the end of December until we reach the solstice. And if Sag is wisdom and knowledge and this need to see the world and need to explore and grow, then Gemini is about information, ideas, to learn, to weigh our options, to read, to get back to the basics. So again, we'll talk more about that next week. So I'm going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs. We got a lot to talk about. Just as a reminder, I do say this periodically, but sometimes I got a comment recently, why don't you say, is this for your rising sign or for your sun sign? It's for both. You have, unless you're born at sunrise, you have basically 2 astrology charts. Maybe other astrologers would say something differently. You have your solar chart, which is your life mapped out from the perspective of your sun. And then you also have the chart of your rising sign, which is calculated for the moment of your exact birth. Both work. It's not to say that one is better than others. Certainly, if you have your exact birth time, there is a specificity to that chart that's created. But for our purposes today, because we can't get into that level of astrology, you have to work with an astrologer or be your own astrologer. We're just going through the 12 signs, but we're doing this from the perspective of both your rising sign and your sun sign. So you can listen for both. It's 2 different perspectives on your life. It is to sort of listen for both and to synthesize and look for the overlap. And you will see perhaps a story that's very unique to your life. So, before we go through each of the 12 signs, I just want to mention before I forget, I'm part of an online summit. I recorded a segment today. This is Your Path to Empowerment online summit. It is free. The link is in the show notes to register. It is with Alexander Aries, and the series is launching on the 24th of November. And I talk all about astrology and how I came to astrology, how I use astrology, my philosophies on astrology, very, very sag, very philosophical, and how we can look at 2025 because 2025 is a big year. So link is in the show notes to register to get the series when it launches, and I'm part of a group of people, all from different modalities. So let's go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, starting with Aries. Aries, so Mars is your planet. It's still in Leo, so you got that sort of double dose of fire. So just a little quick temperature read. How are you doing, Leo? How are you doing, Aries? It's a time for you to get your mojo back, to get your spark back, to reignite your passions, and to get back to who you are, quote unquote. But the real story is Pluto going into Aquarius. So it has left, but maybe by the time you listen to this, if you're not listening live, it's left Capricorn, which is your career sign, and it's going into your 11th sign, Aquarius. Aquarius represents a space in your astrology that talks about your relationship with the world. I realize that sounds a little bit vague, so let me say it this way. Who are your friends? Who are your community? Where do you feel that you belong? Do you have people who are like-minded in your life? Do you feel that you are searching for those people? So Pluto's arrival into your 11th sign commences, and to be fair, this did begin in 2023, commences this big work on your relationship with the whole. Maybe you will see this play out around friends and community over the coming years. Maybe it's about the groups, getting involved in groups, or the people that you are connected with. Maybe it's about these bigger social issues and social causes. Maybe you're just trying to find your tribe, or maybe you want to play a positive role in the world. The thing is that each and every one of you, whether you're Aries or Aries rising, you are, of course, your own people. You have your own astrology. You have your own quote unquote karma with Pluto. So what is happening in your life is going to be very unique to you and your soul's journey. But it is about the collective. It is about humanity. It is about social issues and social causes. I realize that's a bit broad, but maybe you can kind of glimpse how this is relevant into your life. The idea is that when we get to, I know 20 years is a long time from now, when we get to Pluto's end of its time in Aquarius, you will have remade your friends, your community, your place in the world, your relationship with social issues and social causes, and even your relationship with how you participate in the world. Maybe this is about systems and networks and creating systems and creating powerful new systems. Again, it's going to be specific to you. Reflect back on the past 16 years, especially how it has transformed your relationship with power, with responsibilities, with duties, with the public world, the public life, and even has transformed your career. Taurus. So Venus is your planet and it's in Capricorn at the moment. So there's this time to come back to who you are. It is about passions, the things that you love, the things that you want to invest time and money in. It's also about duties and responsibilities. Then there's Pluto. And this is actually a big shift for you. So think back to 2008, Pluto went into something called your ninth sign. The ninth is a little bit hard to kind of clearly state it because it's different for everybody. But the ninth is a space where you've needed to open up your world to make it bigger. And make it bigger sometimes means travel, foreign travel, the seeking, exploring for something. It sometimes means faith and philosophy. Sometimes it means religion for those for whom that's relevant. Maybe that means getting on a plane or going back to college or university. But that's been the bigger theme. And sometimes it's about beliefs and needing to do a work, whether it's about what you believe in and you stand for, or even about judgment. Sometimes how we can make our world smaller through our judgments. Again, it will be specific for different people. Pluto going into Taurus, Pluto going into Aquarius, it's not going to happen. Taurus is not going to happen in our lifetime because you are Taurus. Pluto going into Aquarius is a big shift. It marks a shift of seasons in your life, which you have very likely been feeling over the past couple of years. The last time, if you are old enough to remember, the last time you had a similar sort of shift of seasons would have been 1983 and 84. Yes, you heard me correctly, but that's only relevant if you are old enough. So over the next 20 years, Pluto will shape, remake, transform, grow and evolve your professional life, your professional world, career, the role that you play, the title after your name, your relationship with power. It could even mean needing to step into roles of power. It could mean needing to look at the type of work that you do in the world. I've seen a lot of different themes, especially with my Aries clients. Over the past 10 years, they had to navigate themes around power and control in their workplace, but that's just a specific example. But see what is happening in your professional life, even if you don't have a traditional career per se, but what is your relationship with power and duty and responsibility? Because something is beginning to shift. And especially coming on the heels of Uranus's time in Taurus, it's interesting because Taurus is such a sign that's built about reliability and stability and sort of keep doing the same things. And I mean that in a good way. But between Pluto and Uranus, especially Uranus over the past few years and now Pluto, it's like your life is turning in a different direction. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. You'll have to get back to me, Taurus, and let me know how this plays out. Gemini. Gemini, so Mercury is your planet, and just a little quick side note, Mercury is about to turn retrograde. I think it turns retrograde at 21 or 22. Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is your relationship sign. So over the next 4 weeks, it's about relationships, about other people, how you connect and interact. Retrograde just means that you need to walk back. You need to integrate your experiences. You need to reevaluate your choices. Is it an up or down, a yes or no? It doesn't mean that life goes on hold. It's just more of an internal time and needing to look at you need to consult your intuition, for example. The big news, of course, as you've been hearing me say, is Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. Keep in mind that Pluto has been in Capricorn, your 8th sign, since 2008. This has been a time in your life that cannot be recreated. The 8th is a space in everybody's astrology, but it just happens to be that Capricorn is your space where it's about your psychic landscape. It's about intimacy. It's about trust, power, control, and vulnerability. Where was your psychological landscape in 2008 versus where is it now? Every person, of course, every Gemini, of course, is going to live this time differently. Whether it's more about power and money, because this space can also deal with money and finance and legacies, or it's been about the deep, profound inner work that you've had to do since 2008. Pluto into the 9th, into Aquarius, says that over the next 20 years, yes, you heard me correctly, because Pluto will be in Aquarius for 20 years, something about your world needs to shift. This is the thing about the 9th. It's not a concrete place. Its role in our astrology is to make our world bigger. So how big is your world right now, Gemini? Do you keep things small? Or maybe you've actually done a lot of work over the last 10, 15 years, for example, and it's time to live this work. It is to get into matters of faith and truth and meaning and belief, and maybe to travel and to seek and to explore, and for some Geminis, even to go back to school. But something will be remade about what you believe in, what you stand for, how you see things, how you think about things, how you travel and explore over the coming years. Cancer. Cancer, the moon is your planet, and this week the moon is traveling between Cancer and I think all the way to Pisces. Is that correct? That's probably not correct. Maybe it's Scorpio. I can't remember. I don't have my thing right here. But anyway, so with the moon in Cancer as we start the week, it's for this restart and reset for you. And the moon's going to take you up. Now I gotta look up where the moon's going to be. I have it right here. And the moon goes to Virgo this weekend. So it's going from you, and it's going to a space midweek about money and income and finance and material stability and security. And by the end of the week, it's about getting practical, getting grounded, getting organized, maybe moving and things in the neighborhood and trying to get a lot of things done. The big news, of course, is Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. So let's go back to 2008. In January of 2008, and this has been a big transit the past 16 years for you, Cancer and Cancer rising. Pluto going into Capricorn meant that you needed to spend 16 years completely transforming relationship. Of course, that word means different things to different people, but we all have relationships in many different forms. It is the space in which we connect and interact and socialize with people. There have been deep lessons, and maybe you've needed to, especially with Pluto at the very end of Capricorn, need to integrate some of these deep lessons and these deep realizations. But I've seen the gamut. I've seen people who have started powerful relationships. I've seen people who have gone through really terrible relationships and now hopefully are on the other side of that. Pluto going into Aquarius says that Pluto is now going into your 8th. The 8th is a space where it really talks about our inner landscape, our inner psychic world, intimacy, vulnerability, trust, power, control. And because we're dealing with Pluto, the things that you have not been seen about yourself. I know, but I have to do my due diligence to Pluto. Whatever you uncover, you excavate, you transform, you reveal, and even you will empower over the next 20 years, but surely some aspect of your inner life will not just look, because we can't see it, will feel very different. It is to transmute something. It is to eventually go into the 9th. The 9th is wisdom and knowledge. How do we find wisdom and knowledge? We have to go through the 8th. Maybe Pluto's, or rather Saturn's time in Aquarius from 2020 to 2023, beginning of 2023, laid some breadcrumbs for Pluto, because now Pluto is going to go into a space that Saturn previously occupied. So everybody will sort of navigate this time differently, but it's sort of my philosophy about the 8th is that we're not meant to do it alone. It is to gather emotional resources, to gather support, the people who will be the navigators with you, who have the map, who have already walked this space and can help hold the mirror to you. And that's probably the best way to navigate this time and to use it to really set some personal inner goals for yourself, because what will come out of this time will be the real gold that you take with you throughout the rest of your life. Leo. So the sun is wrapping up its time in Scorpio, and the sun rules you, and it's about to go into Sagittarius this week, and it'll be a definite vibe shift because the sun is going to go into a fire sign, and you're a fire sign. And then you're going to have that Mars in Leo, Sun in Sagittarius, fire energy. And you're probably going to feel the latter part of this week like you're ready to go, you're ready to move, you're ready to get things done. But let's talk about Pluto and Aquarius. Like your fellow fixed signs, my Tauruses, my Aquariuses, and my Scorpios, this is a major change for you. So Pluto going into Aquarius means that it's going into your relationship sign. Relationships mean different things to different people. It doesn't necessarily mean literally your intimate partnership, your marriage, the person that you cohabitate with. It's about how you interact and socialize with these people. And relationships are very often mapped out in childhood. So it's possible that the next coming years, and really 20 years, is to deconstruct, to deprogram a lot of things that maybe were set up in early age. But the basic idea is that Pluto has walked into a space, your 7th, is now saying to you, Leo, it's time to rip everything out. And again, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be in the same relationship anymore, but something about the inner landscape, about how you connect and interact and socialize, will need to change. You will see the gamut. I will see Leos where they start a major powerful relationship. I will see Leos that really reevaluate the people in their life, but something will change, and maybe you're already feeling it, Leo or Leo rising. So definitely let me know how you're feeling, because it is a big psychic shift for you. And it also means that the sun, or rather Pluto, is going to be opposite you, especially if you are a sun in Leo. Because if you're sun in Leo, Pluto opposite the sun says that it is a transformation of you. The light of the sun is the spark of the divine that lives within, that lives in your chart. And so whatever is in the way of you revealing and expressing the totality of who you are has to change. And that's the thing about Pluto, is that it is unfortunately non-negotiable. Virgo. Virgo. So Mercury is your planet and it's about to turn retrograde. So it'll turn retrograde on the 25th of November. So Mercury in Sagittarius means a lot of your energy at the moment is focused on the home environment, whether it's your living situation, projects at home, whether it's family or family matters. But that said, the big news is Pluto going into Aquarius. And Aquarius for you, Virgo, is something called your sixth sign. The sixth sign deals with the day-to-day minutia of life. What do I mean by that? Well, we all need what I like to call operations. Your life needs operations. You wake up, you do this, you do that, you go to work, you pay your bills, you take care of your body, there's health and wellness, there's systems in place, all in order for things to flow. So maybe this is a good check-in for you, Virgo. Like, what are your operations? And if you're like, no, my life's a mess, which I don't believe because you're Virgo, but in all seriousness, because Pluto is saying to you, the operations need to change. For some Virgos, this is a time where you need to focus on health and wellness. It's not going to be the case for every Virgo. I would go back and look at 2020 to 2023, March. So from March of 2023 to March of 2020 to March of 2023, Saturn was in this space, and Saturn gave you some information. It gave you some temperature reads. It gave you some clues, because now Pluto is going to be in this space. So if the realization during that time is, I need to take better care of myself. I need to inhabit my body instead of sort of being always in my head. I need to completely change like how I live my life. I need to clean things out. I need to be of service more. I need to do the things that are actually important. I need to create more ritual, craft, and intention in my life, or whatever the thing that sort of came to you during that time. Because Pluto is going to do a very different work than Saturn. Saturn is about the actual structure of making something happen. But Pluto is to completely remake the psychic landscape. So, for example, if you have a hard time taking care of yourself or sort of inhabiting yourself, Pluto is to show you why. It is to look in the mirror. It's to see what's there. If, whatever it is, that's what Pluto is trying to reveal to you. But that's the thing. Like, our time with Pluto is going to be very specific to our lived history. But I would even go as far as to say as our soul's history. So the work that you need to do, whether it's to change your diet, your health and wellness, whether it's to change how you live your life, maybe starts now. Libra, Venus is your planet and it's in Capricorn at the moment, and Capricorn is a sign of home and family. It's actually a space that Pluto has been through the last 16 years. So I want to rewind a little bit, Libra, and let's talk about 2008 to 2023 and 2024. Because in 2008, Pluto went into your fourth, your sign of home and family, roots and foundation. And the fourth is also the base and foundation for your life. And so Pluto was like, we need to start ripping everything out. What are you talking about, Pluto? Well, the base and foundation is very often, it's family stuff, ancestral stuff. It's the stuff that we sort of hold in the container that we grow our lives in. Sometimes it's not wanting to be here and feeling very disassociated, just detached. Of course, it's going to be different for different Libras. But there has been some big work and some psychic and emotional work around home and family over the last 16 years. So here we are. What have you learned? What have you integrated? Pluto will now go into your fifth. The fifth is a lot of things, and I would even go back, sort of for you to look at March 2020 to March of 2023, because Saturn was in this space. So what's the fifth? The fifth is the space where we need to, it's about identity. It's about self. It is our talents and our gifts and our abilities. It is traditionally speaking, is the space of the sun, even though you have a different sign there. So who are you, Libra? And I don't mean your history. I don't mean your name, your first name, last name. I don't mean the title after your name and the work that you do in this world. I mean, who are you? Because Pluto is asking each and every Libra, a Libra rising, do you know who you are? And if you don't, Pluto is going to help you to discover who you truly are. If you think you're something that you're not, Pluto's going to hold a mirror to you. But there's this deep inner work, this deep psychic work to reveal the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is very often found in the spaces where you are doing the things that you love, that light you up and give you joy and give you passion. Because that's life, that's who you are. And so Pluto is helping you to excavate and uncover anything that's in the way of that. So for some Libra risings, it may be about self and individuality. It may be about your talents, the talents that you don't own, you don't inhabit, you don't express. It could be the opposite. You need to go full force in who you are and to do the things that light you up and give you joy. And for some Libra rising, it is about children, whether that's literal, whether that's metaphoric. But of course, this is not relevant to every Libra and Libra rising. So again, Libra, it's to really check in with these sort of bigger questions about self and identity, because you are about to start a big work. Scorpio. So Mars is your planet, and it's in Leo, and it will be in Leo for a while, in and out into June of 2025. And Leo is your career sign. So you're in a period where, minus the retrograde that starts on December 6th, where it's about really pushing out into the world. It is about your duties and responsibilities. It's your public life. It's your career. But this is a space that you're going to be sort of in and out because Mars will go back into Cancer. I think it's in the end of January. And then returns, oh gosh, I can't remember when it returns. I think it's April when it goes back to Leo. So between your career, between Mars going back into Cancer in 2025, it is to really get into the philosophical heart and the why you do what you do in the world and the roles that you play and why you show up, because there may be some reevaluating. But nevertheless, this is a very creative time because Leo is a very creative and self-expressive sign. The big news, however, is Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. So you have spent the last 16 years working on voice, communication, how you think, how you listen, how you learn. Maybe you've needed to teach, maybe you've needed to go back to school, but the idea is that Pluto has helped you to excavate and to reveal your voice. There's only one you in the world. Pluto going into Aquarius is a major shift of seasons. To be fair, Pluto went into Aquarius for the first time in March of 2023. So this is something that perhaps you are already familiar with. But this is a shift of like the tectonic plates of your life. The last time Pluto made a seasonal shift like this would have been 1983 and 1984. Aquarius represents the base and foundation of Scorpio's chart, whether you are Scorpio or Scorpio rising. And Pluto is essentially walking into the base and foundation of your life and saying, hey, Scorpio, I'm here to rip everything out. And I know Scorpio has a reputation for being super game for ripping everything out. However, this is the heart of the chart. This is what supports your life. It doesn't mean that over the next however many years you're not going to have a heart. Of course you have a heart, Scorpio, or you're not going to have a base and foundation. It is to excavate and to remove and to transmute anything that's not feeding and supporting your life. Now that's the inner psychic landscape, but the fourth is also about home and family, roots and foundation. And on some level, Pluto is asking you, who is home and where is home? And this is the very question that Saturn asked you from March of 2020 to March of 2023. Where is home and who is home? Saturn is a little bit more practical minded. Maybe you made a move, but this is a psychic inner shift and move. And maybe it is a move for you, Scorpio. But if it is a physical move, it represents something that has shifted within. A change of priorities, a change in relationship with family, a need to remake what that means for you opposed to what it was, growing up. It's also to excise the sort of the stuff from the past that we carry, especially even ancestral trauma, ancestral stuff. And this area of your life, just go find a Libra or Libra rising friend and sort of take notes from them, because they were doing this work over the last 16 years. And now it's time for you to do this work, Scorpio. Sagittarius. So Jupiter is your planet. And as you've been hearing me say every week since May, Jupiter has been in Gemini since May of 2024. It continues to be a time of relationship. Relationship means different things, different people, but it's not a time to be isolated. At the bare minimum, this is a time to connect. This might be more social time. Maybe you feel that you are, I can say this as a Sag rising. I feel like, up until June, it was more isolated. And now there's like people everywhere. And I'm like, I need my alone time. Go away. But anyway, so Jupiter is in Gemini. It's about other people. We're going to talk more about this when we get into Sagittarius season, especially next week's video, and also when we get into Sag New Moon at the start of December. But that said, the big news this week is Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. So let's just quickly rewind. Pluto has wrapped up its time in Capricorn. Capricorn is your second sign of money, income, material stability, and security. The second, along with the 5th, the 8th, the 11th, these are spaces that talk about the things that are really locked down in our life. We want them locked down, create stability and security. The second is about our material stability and security. And we all have different values, in terms of money and what's important. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. We need a roof, we need shelter, we need food, we need some sort of resource and some sort of currency. That has profoundly shifted, at least on paper, profoundly shifted since January of 2008. Whether that means that your relationship with money literally has transformed, whether you have more of it or less of it, whether you spend it differently, whether your relationship with income, how you want to earn a living, maybe you earned a living very differently in 2008 versus how you earn a living now. Maybe it's been about value and worth and even self-worth. But these are the lessons, sort of what you've learned, and you take them into Pluto's time in Aquarius. Aquarius is your third sign. The third sign is about voice, communication, how you think and listen and learn. So the third is, whether it's Pluto, it is to find the power of your voice, the power of what you have to say, the power of what you think. Or maybe it is to turn the mirror and say, do you actually think about what you think? Or do you actually inhabit the words that you're saying? How do you bring more consciousness into what you are saying and thinking? Because words have power, ideas have power, and certainly thoughts have power. If you do not use your voice, if it's your parents' voice or somebody else's voice, Pluto's like, what's going on? We have to really excavate anything that's in the way of you expressing your voice. Voice is so important because it talks about our ability to be in total alignment with who we are. And it's not to necessarily adopt things, people, or habits that are not truly our own. So there is a sense of self-expression that's very, that will be revealed over the coming years. Just go find a Scorpio and sort of take notes, because they had this transit from 2008 to 2023 and 4. And I would even go back in your own life, where was voice 2020 to 2023, March of 2020 to March of 2023? What changed in how you thought, how you communicate, how you think and listen? your ability to, garner new ideas, to go back and sort of question how you think, because Saturn was laying some groundwork for Pluto, and now Pluto is going to say now it's time for a big evolutionary change. Capricorn. So Saturn's your planet, but what I really want to say is this is the culmination of a massive chapter in your life. So in January of 2008, Pluto went into Capricorn for the first and only time in your life. And so this was the time that your soul needed from 2008 to 2023 and 4 to do this work. This is a time for you to really to completely tear down old structures, to get at the heart of who you are, to learn about power and self and individuality and being able to stand on your own 2 feet. So that period has ended, but it's to reflect on the experiences in your life over the last 15, 16 years. Now that shifts, and so Pluto is going to go into a space that has never been in your life. It goes into your second sign of money, income, material stability, and security. It has already done this. Now, Pluto went into Aquarius for the first time in March of 2023, and then again in January 2024. So you already have your first hints and signals about the deeper work that's going to happen, because that's the thing. Pluto talks about a deep emotional, spiritual, and psychic work. So it brings questions to the forefront that are, of course, going to be different for different Capricorns. What is your relationship with money, income, material stability, and security? Do you know your own value and worth? Are you more material? Do you sort of put your sense of value and worth in what you own and what you have? Do you need to remake your relationship with money? Do you need to remake your relationship with the structures that you have built in your life, the resources that you have available? These are just questions. These are not predictions. These are things that might tick into what's going on in your life. Maybe a little light bulb goes off. Look at the stories around money, income, material stability, even self-worth and value that are coming up at this time, because it marks a story that, of course, will take many different iterations and evolutions, but that'll play out over the next 20 years. So this could mean having wealth. This could mean building material stability and security. This could mean maybe having to turn the mirror and look at yourself and how maybe money has been shaped by a parent, because we take on a lot of unconscious programming, especially fear and scarcity, because a parent or even like our ancestors, that stuff is there in the unconscious and even the subconscious. Because Pluto is about conscious, we need to look at something that we haven't been seeing. And so this is part of this bigger time in your life. Go back to when Saturn was in this space from March of 2020 to March of 2023. Because Saturn, even though Saturn is your planet, Saturn was giving you little notes, because Saturn was in that space and now Pluto is in this space. So on one hand, it's the end of this big work to celebrate the work that you've done, to integrate, to have the light bulb goes off, to offer back all the things that you've learned and discovered about yourself and power and transformation, because we all need that inspiration, Capricorn. Aquarius. So Saturn is your planet. It's in Pisces. We've been going through that the past few weeks, if not, past couple of years. But let's talk about Pluto. Pluto is a very slow-moving planet, which I talked about in the introduction, and it's so slow that it's never been in Aquarius in your lifetime, except for Pluto's first arrival in Aquarius in March of 2023, and again in January of 2024. Back to September 1st of this year, Pluto goes back into Capricorn, and then it goes back into Aquarius tomorrow, November 19th. So this is the start of a major time in your life. I cannot underscore that even more. because it is the equivalency, starting in 2023, of Pluto walking across the front doorstep of your life and saying, Aquarius, I'm here to change everything. I'm here to rip everything out. Choose your analogy, choose what's relevant to your life. You probably have already started to feel the psychic and structural shift in your life since last year. Pluto is going into a space, your sign or your rising sign, where Pluto says it's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. It's time for you to find your individuality, to know your identity. Now, this is the thing. Now, Pluto going into Aquarius Sun versus Aquarius Rising is a little bit different, because Pluto going into an Aquarius Sun means that Pluto is now in the same space as the light of the sun. The light of the sun talks about the light of the self. It talks about the spark of the divine that lives in all of our astrology charts. And Pluto going into this space says now it's time to do a big work of transformation. Big work, I can't underscore that more, and it will be specific to each person, because we all have our own history, we all have our own lived history, we all have our own karma, and Pluto is to make a transmutation, is to reveal ourselves. It is an ending and a beginning, and I realize these are big words. If you're Aquarius rising, it's more, it's a little bit different. It's about sort of starting this great chapter of your life. This Pluto won't return to this part of the sky for another 250 years. So I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen in your lifetime. And I would use this, and whether you are Aquarius Sun or Aquarius rising, to ask yourself, how do I want to change? And you're like, but I don't want to change. But how do you want to change? Because it's going to happen. It's an energy. It's going to be present in your life. It's like sitting in the front doorstep right now. And it's like, how do you want to change? How do you want to transform? What needs to be revealed about yourself? And, maybe this is about really coming into your power in a positive way, not, second guessing yourself or not intellectualizing things too much. But it is a major shift of seasons. And the last time you had a similar shift of seasons was 1983 and 1984. I realize not everybody was alive at that point, but if you are old enough, that's when you had Pluto go into your 10th and it crossed the midheaven. If you're Aquarius rising, of course. But it is a big shift of seasons, and it's for you to, of course, note the things that are happening now, because they might hint at a much larger story about the self, about individuality, and about standing on your own 2 feet. Pisces. So Jupiter is your planet. It's in Gemini. I spoke about this last week. It's about home. It's about family. It's about this chapter in your life, especially with the Jupiter square Saturn. And Saturn is in Pisces. Hey, you're Pisces. And it's a little bit of a big time for you. Big in the sense of about personal milestones, about really trying to create more stability and security in your life. For some people, it's about starting a family, creating a family. For some people, it's about focusing on family. And maybe, it's about really focusing on the home environment and to really put down roots and to feel, especially if you are Pisces rising, that you are in a new phase and chapter in your life. That said, Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and Aquarius represents something called your 12th sign. The 12th sign, everybody has a 12th sign, and it represents the world outside this world. What does that even mean? So every space in astrology, which is represented by a zodiac sign, represents our world, our lives, the money that we make, our relationships, our health, our career, our beliefs, our family. But the 12th represents what is outside this world, whether that's spirituality, whether that's the seeking and exploration of deeper wisdom and knowledge and deeper meaning and purpose in our lives. Ironically, the 12th represents what is outside this world, but it's actually bigger than us, but yet it only represents 1/12 of our astrology. So here's the thing. It's a little bit hard to concretely say what Pluto going into Aquarius is going to mean for you, because by its nature, the 12th is hidden. It is our dreams. It is our unconscious. It is that space that we feel into as we are waking up and as we are going to sleep. It's a very liminal space. Pluto will spend 20 years here in a space that will take you outside of yourself to discover what is beyond this world. Where do you belong in this whole scheme of creation? What is your faith? What is your inner faith? What is your seeking and exploration for something? What is your spirituality? Again, this will mean different things for different Pisces. But Pluto is knocking on the door of a space that's typically, depending on the person who's listening, typically hidden. And something will need to reveal itself over the coming years. And I realize that sounds a little untangible and a little vague, but that's the thing about the 12th. It is by its nature untangible and vague. And so I would say, do you need to meditate more? How are you fulfilling your life? Right? These are statements just to ponder. Do you need to have more spirituality? What is the role of spirituality in your life? And I don't mean religion when I say spirituality. I mean you cultivating time to grow yourself on a much deeper level, to seek and to search out answers, to find those answers within, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through retreat, whether that's through this transformation of the hidden landscape within you. But take notes of some of the more existential questions and feelings that are coming up, because the 12th is by its very nature existential. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of November 18th through 24th, 2024. Thank you all for joining me this week. And I do work with clients, and I know some of you are my clients. So use this time to really check in, whether you use your own resources and faculties, whether you work with an astrologer such as myself, to really orient yourself in what this shift means so that you can work with it. Because Pluto, for whatever your sign is, whatever your rising sign is trying to reveal something at this time. And Pluto, by its nature, is to put light where there were shadows, and to turn, quote unquote, lead into gold. So to turn our darkness into light. And we all have that within us. We all have this sort of hidden spaces within. And that's how we grow. That's the growth and evolution of our souls. And that's really what Pluto is getting at the heart of things. So that said, thank you all for joining me this week. You can book a consultation with me. You can follow me online, empoweringastrology.com. All the links are in the show notes. You can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube, and also sign up for my newsletter. So I appreciate you all, and I will see you all next week. Take care.